We are back. Welcome to the Dub Tre show. Thank you once again for everybody listening in. We got a great one this time for you. We're going to be controversial. It's going to be interesting. Submissiveness versus control. Well, we're going to break some things down. We're going to definitely get into it and talk about it. I definitely think people have different levels of what the definition is. So let's talk about what the definition is. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the Webster Dictionary, and this is where we're going to start. The Webster Dictionary of submit is to yield to governance or authority. To yield to the authority or will of another.
Yield to the authority.
And will of another. Surrender.
Y'all hear that, ladies?
Another definition. To permit oneself to be subjected to something.
Subjectiveness, yeah.
All that is submit. Now, control, in the dictionary, the definition of control is an act or instance of controlling or power or authority to guide or manage.
That's close. That's real close. That's a fine line.
Close. They kind of close.
They are definitely close. So do you think that men have a different perspective? Or I'll change that up. I got a better question. Do you think that women are submissive in today's age? And do they look at submissiveness as a positive or a negative? Because I think, and we can talk about it later on, I think it's really submissiveness for the majority of people, men and women. I think it's interpreted as a sign of weakness or a negative thing or being taken advantage of.
Because if you think about when you hear that term submit, right? So if you watch anything, any sports, anything, when something or someone is submitting, it's pretty much just saying like, I quit and there's no way that I can win. Right? When someone submits, so like in UFC fights, when the people tap out, they tap out and they submit. Right? It's like the worst way to lose. Some people would rather just get knocked out than to tap out and submit to the person that's beat them.
Good point.
I just think the word gives the impression of being like dominated and overpowered.
Right.
And helpless.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I think that the word has changed over time because men and women have not taken the correct responsibility in ensuring that we both understand what that word actually means.
It's not even talked about most of the time.
Not really. Because I think that if most women get asked that question, are you willing to submit to your man? And most of the responses are hell no.
Right. Or the question is, when you have someone who returns the question and they don't really answer the question. So if you ask a woman, are you submissive? There's a lot of, if the man is this, if the man is that, if he's consistent. I hear a lot of that a lot.
And I agree to those things.
Right. If he's consistent, if he's a provider, if he is deserving of the woman being submissive. But then my question would be, are you submissive by nature or do you learn how to be submissive?
Yeah. I think both. Right. I think that when any woman or man is with the right person, you're naturally submissive. And then I think that consciously, when you know you're with the right person, you learn to be naturally submissive. It becomes a habit to where you just that way. It takes work. It takes effort at first because being submissive is a choice for women to be submissive to men and for men to be submissive to women.
Okay. So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. So if it is a choice, my perspective and my question down the road would mean if you're not happy or if you are in the midst of turmoil or you're having a difficult time, your submissiveness stops because
absolutely
you're not in that mindset. You're unhappy or something has happened where your submissiveness is now stopped. So that would mean, go back to what you're saying, that you're making that choice to do it, and then you're also making a choice to stop if things go wrong or you're not in that mood for example. But I do believe there are people who are they are submissive by nature, meaning that regardless of what's going on, they have submissive characteristics. For example, this person automatically will curb their own opinions to have a peaceful conversation. That is a trait of someone being submissive, having the characteristics of someone being submissive. But it's a good question, and I definitely want people to chime in because I think, you know, like you said, Dub, I think it can be a choice, but, you know, I think people would much prefer someone who is in that way by nature, but eventually that'll change because at some point somebody's going to take advantage of it.
It is, but and it sounds like to me what you may be leading to is a character trait,
right?
Because in that sense of what you said, yielding your opinion,
right?
You know what I mean? That thing. So that's not necessarily inherent to a husband and a wife or a wife and a husband. Like friends could do that. Me and you can do that.
Exactly.
So that is more of a character trait where you may be dealing with someone who is really argumentative versus someone who knows how to have a respectful,
intellectual conversation.
Right. Even if you have differences of opinion or thoughts, you can maintain that respect in that line of, I'm going to keep things respectful and still give my opinion.
Right.
I mean, and the funny thing is, not funny, I'll say the interesting thing is that from my experience, when women hear the word submit, they assume that it means that something is being taken away. Right now, I'm not talking about submit like 40, 50 decades ago. Like it was a fact that women lived under the dominance of their husbands because just the state of how things were for women.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. Right.
It's just how it was.
Right.
Right. So even then, I can't really say that women were submissive then because they had no choice but to be in the state that they were in.
Right. Because they didn't have any rights.
Right. And submissive doesn't mean that you're not strong. And
exactly.
And even in those times, I think what women have to understand is that women weren't powerless.
Right.
Even 40, 50 decades ago, women were never powerless.
Right.
Right. No matter how much money you make, no matter what your title is, no matter what degrees behind your name, you're not powerless. Men can be persuaded by women. If a man loves a woman and understands her true value, she has the ability to persuade him to do things or to think a certain way or to go a certain way.
Right. Because he wants to please her. Men
will start wars over women. So
without a doubt,
women have an unspeakable power.
Yeah. That unspeakable power.
They do. They have a lot of power.
And I think a lot of times they don't utilize it correctly. For the women who really have a difficult time trying to find a good man or find that relationship, I think they need to tap into what you're saying right now and some of those things, like just don't throw yourself out there to have those type of experiences without having, like you said previously in another show, having that consistency and really understanding your true value. So
absolutely. I guess to kind of move it to what I think submit means.
Okay.
Obviously, I think both parties should be submitting to each other.
You got to do whatever I say.
Yeah, that's not what, right. Right. So the woman should be submissive to her man and the man should be submissive to his woman.
Agreed.
What that means to me is you trust the other person's view and experience. Meaning that if your significant other has experience or knowledge in an area that you don't have experience and knowledge in, trust that they know what they're doing. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Even if you have an opinion about being right or wrong, give your opinion, but trust them to hear your opinion and allow them to make a decision. Allow your man to lead, ladies. Right. Yeah. Another thing is what submit means is understanding the difference between having a discussion and having an argument, which is something you kind of alluded to a little bit, right? The difference is you argue about who is right. A discussion is about what is right.
I like that.
There's a difference.
You argue about who was right. you have a discussion about what is right.
What is the right direction? What are we doing? What is the purpose? You remove yourselves from being right and wrong, and you choose the most right answer.
Because those questions that you just asked are questions that point you in the direction of finding a solution to the problem.
And not being right.
Right. Exactly.
It's not about being right.
Right.
You know, and then there's the selflessness part, you know, taking care of each other, you know, looking out for others' needs above your own.
Yeah, being selfless. I agree.
And I'm about to say something, and a woman might disagree. Men have always been submissive.
I completely agree with that.
If you agree, if you're listening and you agree to everything that I just said that comes with being submissive, you have to understand that men have always been submissive. We are raised and we are taught to be submissive to women. We are taught to be selfless. We are taught to put a woman's needs above our own. As a matter of fact, the definitions of a good man is a man who's taking care of his woman.
That's right.
Right? He's meeting her needs. He's meeting her desires. He's keeping her happy. It doesn't matter how he feels about what he's doing. He should be happy that he's making her happy. That's submissiveness.
And you would apply that logic to the whole family, the whole household. A good man, by definition, should be submissive with his woman, his wife, and his children. Anybody under his household, under his care, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. I believe that men have always been part, like you said, the definition of a good man is just that, being submissive.
It's being submissive. We do it. We're taught to do it. As a matter of fact, I go this far. The term happy wife, happy life.
Exactly.
That term literally says submit to your wife's desires or else.
Or else. Exactly.
If you want a good life, keep your wife happy. It don't say nothing about keeping yourself happy.
It sure don't. So then the question is, where's the misconception? Why is it that in today's society, women are the only ones who say or feel as though they are submissive in a relationship? Why is that feeling there? Because if you are a man who's providing, if you are a man who is in a situation where both parties agree, respectful, monogamous, whatever it may be, depending on your status, if you are a man that's doing all the core things in the relationship to please your woman, why is it not looked at as the man being submissive? And just let this man, you know, miss not taking the trash out, or he misses a daily routine of him doing something that is what his norm is. Why is it looked at as if, oh, we slacking on the job, or we're doing this, or we're doing that? It seems to be a one-sidedness to this when it comes to perceiving what submissiveness is. And whenever, even when you meet somebody, even when you have a conversation, when you meet somebody, the tone is, what can you do for me?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to offer? Okay, now prove it to me.
Right. That's because what society has men doing and what a good man looks like, we don't call it being submissive. We call it being a good man.
Right.
Literally, men build so that we can give.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
Fact.
If any man is worth taking care of a family, having children, being married, and being a provider, he has built and achieved so that now he can be used. And I don't mean used in a bad way.
Right.
Like, you know, taken advantage of, used. But he does the things that he does so that he can give it to his wife and his family.
Right.
In some shape or form. Whether it's his money, his time, his love, whatever she wants, where she want to go on vacation, what color she wants the kitchen, where she want the furniture, what house she want, what neighborhood she want to live in, what color car she wants, right?
Happy wife, happy life.
All these, exactly. All these things are men yielding to their wives' needs and desires.
Mm.
And
So-
if you agree with the definition of to submit that we gave earlier, then it has to also be true that men have always been submissive to their women. But women don't see it because y'all just call that being a good man.
Oh, you're supposed to do that.
You're supposed to do it. But when it's flipped, and if a man says, I want a woman that's going to be submissive, now the term means something different. Now
why can't you accept me for who I am? Right. Why can't you accept me for being the strong woman that I am?
Right.
I have my own opinions. I have my own vision. I have my own this and that.
And you can have that because that's not what being submissive is about. It's not about taking any of those things away.
Right. And I think that's very important because so many times men get caught up in situations where they have these conversations with a woman and you can say specifically that, and how she interprets it is completely wrong or completely different from what you're actually saying. It's just she's reciprocating what she thinks you're trying to say. And this is what I'm saying. I don't feel like I'm appreciated. I don't feel like this. I don't feel like that. I need to understand why I can't get that same respect that I give you.
Right.
Or why can't you be submissive and allow me to lead in these particular situations, especially if it's something that I have experience in. And a lot of times it gets into a back and forth about her strength as a woman and her feeling like she doesn't want to feel like she's depending on a man. Right. Or feeling vulnerable.
Or like she's losing control, or like we trying to knock her back 50 decades to where women just was in the kitchen having babies, right?
Yeah. So why does that miscommunication continuously happen? I think that miscommunication, I would say, happens in every relationship.
In my opinion, both men and women are responsible for that miscommunication. Mm-hmm. Right. But also, to be honest, the word submit is a harsh word. It really is. I don't care how you use it. We have to agree to the point that the word submit is a very harsh word in the way we know it.
Right.
I don't care who you use it on and how you use it. If you can use it on your coworkers, if you're a manager, you got coworkers and you going to work tomorrow, you say, listen, I need you all to submit to me for a second and listen to what I got to say.
Right.
Right. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. Like, did this fool just ask us to submit to him?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the word.
A whole lot of responses.
Yeah. The word is not an easy word, but that's because the word was meant to be used in reference of a biblical sense of the word submit, not the worldly meaning of the word submit. And I think that's one of the reasons why it gets confused, because the way the Bible defines submit, and it's all through the Bible about being submissive to various things, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Women to their husbands, husbands to their women, men and women to God. Mm-hmm. So from a biblical sense, the word submit is used differently than how we cringe in a worldly sense when we hear it.
Okay.
At least that's one thing I think, right? Other thing I believe is certain kinds of women and men ruined the ability for us to have that conversation. And this is what I'll say for the women. And I wrote this down because I didn't want to forget these points.
Come on, bring it.
Women have it wrong because you've had women that have made you believe that being submissive means that you're going to be controlled. Being submissive doesn't mean that a man is going to control you. But you've had women telling you that, girl, don't let no man, don't be submissive. You don't want to be controlled by no man.
They tie that together.
Doesn't mean control. Right. You've had women that made other women believe that submission challenges your place in the world and in the home and your strength. Right. And it doesn't challenge anything.
I agree.
I think certain women have made other women believe that submission is about giving up control. When the fact is, there's nothing wrong with giving up control. And I'll give you a prime example. Since money is kind of a thing in relationships.
Right.
If a woman can give up control to her man to pay the bills in the house, is that not a control that she won't mind giving up?
Gladly. Will gladly submit in that particular aspect. But the energy changes when it's time for when the world is watching, when the friends are watching, when the family is there. There's so many pressures, I would say, that women go through, especially with their peers at the workplace and their friends,
right?
Where they're being judged and they're being questioned and even treated as such if they don't rebel against that particular thing that you're talking about when it comes to being submissive. And they interpret that as like you said, being controlled, being taken advantage of,
right?
Those type of things. So I think the environment as a whole for a woman, when it comes to those examples that I just gave, they're more likely to rebel against those things, but they will gladly let a man take care of them and provide for them.
Right.
Which is also a submissive action.
It is. I will submit to you these things.
Yeah. I'm going to submit to you this phone bill, this rent, this car note. But you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me that you think I should wear something different when you go out, or, let me know if you're going out of town, having clear communication. You can't tell me what to do on any level. And even if you have some input, you can't even do that. I'm a strong woman and I'm going to do what I want to do.
And that doesn't have to do with being strong. If a man doesn't want his woman wearing a certain thing out, especially if it's something that he knows other men will look at in a manner of which he doesn't want other men to look at his woman. Women, you have to understand that that's just how he feels.
Right.
And the same goes for women. If she doesn't want her man wearing something or looking a certain kind of way,
smelling a certain kind of way,
whatever it is,
yeah,
right? She's asking for a reason. They're not trying to control each other. That's not what that is. But the fact is that when you marry someone, you are giving your spouse the say so to tell you how they feel about you, whatever it is, how you look, how you smell,
right?
I mean, how you eat, right?
Right.
You're giving them the pass to provide your opinion to each other,
right?
And hopefully it's coming from a good place. And then, like, to speak on something you just talked about like certain areas where this gets fuzzy for women,
right?
When they feel judged or whatever, right? I think, I'm not a woman, obviously, but I'm gonna say this anyway. I think that somewhere along women fighting for their own independence, like fighting for their equality, fighting for their value, right? All those things are great. But I think what's been lost is understanding that fight is not in your home. I think that certain kinds of women believe that fight has to happen in the home with their husbands. It doesn't.
Right.
You don't have to fight to be independent. You don't have to fight to be superior. You don't have to compete with your husband.
Say it again. That's the key right there. There's a tone that's being set in our society where we are competing with one another. And that's part of the problem. Like you said, you don't have to compete.
You don't.
You don't have to. Yeah.
And that's the question. How can you submit to someone that you're competing against? Right. Because then submission looks like losing.
And it becomes impossible for you to do.
Yeah, because you think you're losing something.
Right. You have a competitive mentality. That's why your conversations are arguments and not conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all these things women are fighting for that I also fight for. Right. I think that the wrong women have guided this into making other women believe that fight is also in their home with their husbands, and it's not.
I agree.
The fight is with the rest of the world. not with your husband.
I agree.
And then lastly, I think that some women have tried to be submissive, but they've done it with the wrong man.
Yeah, I was going to get into that.
You know, they've submitted to the wrong kind of man.
They submitted to the wrong kind of man, which turns them down for the right man. So many times you hear the stories of a woman being taken advantage of, who's been submissive, who's been dedicated, who's been faithful, and they did it with the wrong man. They just flat out did it with the wrong person. Let me say that. But
wrong person.
The
Absolutely.
wrong person. So then what do? I mean, my response to that is we all have made those mistakes and wasted that time. I wouldn't even say waste time. We all have learned from our mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure through everyone's heartache, you've learned something from it.
Right.
That's going to assist you in the next relationship. You have to
at
take
least you
that.
hope so.
Yeah, I mean, at least if you willing to, unless you want to keep repeating the same thing, but hopefully you would sit back and think about some of the things that those triggers that this person had and how you could identify those things for the next situation that you're in, you know? So, but yeah, these men out here, y'all got to really step up to the plate. But if you're dealing, for men, if you are doing those things that you know you should do as a man and you don't have that submissiveness, you got to think about what it is you want, if that's something that you want. Because again, having a relationship with someone that you're competing against, I'm telling you, it's it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Right.
I mean, you never want to feel like you're competing with somebody. So, and like you said, men have to be submissive too, just like women do. And I think those men who do step up to the plate and provide in different ways, they are being submissive. But there are things that women want specifically. And if they don't get those things, they might not even call you a man. They may say, oh, you're not doing this, or you don't make this amount of money.
Right.
But again, I would love to get women's perspective on this. I would love to get a woman on here to challenge me and Dub about submissiveness and control, because I think it's a lot of control goes on both ends.
And something you said that I think is challenging. You said that to the fellas, when you know you're doing everything you need to do and your woman is still not being submissive, right? Mm-hmm. The challenge for that is, are we men, are we honest enough with ourselves that we can self-report? Like, can we grade ourselves to the point that we know that we're doing everything that woman needs us to be doing in order for her to be submissive or to submit in whatever way, anyone thinks that means? Do I have the right to say that? Do I have the right to say, man, I'm doing everything that I need to be doing? Is that my job to report to myself, or should I be asking my wife, am I doing everything that I need to be doing for you? Because you understand what I'm saying? Because
that's a good question.
I might be providing money. I may be buying cars. I may live in a big house. I may be providing in the way that I think I should be providing, but it may not be what she needs from me.
Okay.
And I could be giving something that is not valuable to her.
Correct.
And that's a failure.
Even though you are, in your mind, you're doing all the things. In my mind,
I'm killing it.
Yeah.
I'm being a good dude. I'm being a great husband. Look at me, shining in the mirror, looking at myself. But really, I'm not giving her what she wants, what she needs.
So let's shift to a man who is providing specifically what she wants and what she needs.
Yeah.
Should the man be expecting the woman to submit then, if he is specifically providing that emotional, whatever her top things that are important to her? She may, want her back rubbed and her feet rubbed every other day, or whatever, whatever. You still find yourself in a situation where you are not happy with the results.
The results, right. Because I think those are transactional things. Like things you do are transactional things, like paying for something or a back rub or a foot rub. To me, those are transactional things, things that
it's not really part of your character.
that you do because the other person wants you to do it, but it doesn't really even say anything about your character.
Right. It's not about, exactly.
The biggest asshole in the world can give a massage. It can buy things. It can pay bills.
Right.
Right. So I think that for men, I would say that if you are consistent, if you are consistently dependable, if you are consistent, I know I said consistently dependable. If you are dependable,
mm-hmm.
if you are consistent
mm-hmm.
in a good way,
mm-hmm.
right? Because somebody can be consistent in being inconsistent. So if you are dependable, consistent, if you're confident, meaning I don't mean arrogant, I mean confident.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't believe in you, how the hell am I supposed to believe in you? So
right.
In a relationship, fellas, what I'm saying is if you're not confident enough that you can get things done, she's not going to believe that you can get things done.
I agree. You have to check in with her. You have to
be.
A simple thing that men can do that I think would help in this particular example that we're talking about, because I brought some examples up about rubbing someone's feet or paying bills or that kind of thing. A consistent thing that you can do is to it's really simple. Just ask, what can you do? What can I do to make your day better? What can I do to make whatever issues you have going on better? Because guess what? That consistently changes.
Right.
And guess what? Sometimes there's nothing you can do, but be okay with that as long as you understand that you're making an effort to check in with her, because that's the only way you're going to find out.
And that's that dependable part, being there when she needs you.
Right.
Can she depend on you to be there when she needs you? And then, like I was saying, be humble, not arrogant, be humble. And even more, when you don't have the answer, ask her, tell her, involve her. Don't ask your friends.
And that's the problem with men. Men don't really communicate with their women.
Yeah. If you have a problem in your life that's going to affect your wife or your family, ask your wife to help you. Do not ask your boys.
Right.
Don't ask your best friends. Ask your wife. Bring her in and say, hey, babe, I'm having a problem with this decision. Help me out. Tell me what you think. That humbleness goes a long way, because then she knows that, oh, okay, not only is he confident, but he also knows when he doesn't know something, and he just won't take us over a ledge because he's too arrogant to let me know that he's kind of lost.
For the men, you have to get over your pride. You have to humble yourself. Like Dub said, you got to get over your pride, because you not having real conversations with your woman is only going to lead to you making as many bad decisions that you can possibly make, because you're guessing. You really don't know, what your woman wants, and you're not making decisions together. Even if she wants to be submissive and allow you to lead, you don't even know that, because you don't even talk to her about the questions that you have. You just, you're running off doing whatever it is you want to do. So,
yeah. And the last thing I'll say for the fellas is be whole. You want, and ladies, please, if you disagree with this list I'm giving, please let me know I'm wrong.
Bet you won't do it. I bet you won't do it.
Right. Please do. Please. Fellas, you got to be whole. And what I mean by that is, if you are a man that is leaning on your woman to fix you, she was not going to submit to you, because you are someone or something she has to work on fixing. So when you enter a relationship, fellas, you need to be whole. You need to already be fixed. You need to already be over your issues. You need to already know your triggers. You need to already have put in the work or currently putting in the work to be a better person.
That's right.
If you are in a relationship and you're leaning on your woman to make you a better person, how can she submit to that? Just think about that. What are you giving her to submit to?
Absolutely nothing. You're giving her a to-do list. She like, Jesus,
You're a project.
You're a project.
You know what I'm saying?
She get off of work. She got to come home and do more work.
Yeah. And make sure you good, right?
Yeah.
So then the 5 things I had was be dependable, be consistent, be humble, be confident, and be whole. And I think that if any man has those 5 characteristics, that with the right woman, that woman will have no problem being submissive to him. That's what I believe. Fellas, if you think I'm wrong, please chime in. Ladies, if you think I'm wrong, chime in.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Dub, but I would definitely say in order for a woman to get to that point and to notice those things, it takes time.
It does. It's not instant.
It takes time.
It does. It takes time. That's where the consistency comes in.
Right. Yeah, it takes time. And, you can still have the back and forth because that's the culture now. There's a lot of things that women have to deal with. There's a perception that a woman has to be a certain way. Right. So in order for you men to break down those barriers, you have to show those things that Dub talked about.
You have to.
And if you still, I'm not saying that it's going to always work that way, but if you still have issues and concerns, that's naturally not going to work itself out anyway.
Yeah.
You're just going to, you guys aren't compatible because in order for a man to display those things to a woman, he has to have a level of understanding himself, but he has to also have a level of unconditional compassion, selflessness for the woman he's dealing with.
Absolutely.
Because that is what is going to drive it. That's going to keep him consistent because he wants to do it. You got to want to do it.
You do.
You can't just do it to shut your woman up.
Right.
You can't just do it for the birthday or this a weekend. You got your tax return. Okay, let me go ahead and take my lady out. Let me go ahead and take her out of town, or let me go ahead and buy her something nice.
You treating her like a chore,
and she knows it.
Yeah.
She knows that, and that's why when you're having those conversations, she don't respect you. She knows she's a chore, and she looking at you like a chore too.
Right.
2 chores.
And I know earlier I went on the women a little bit about y'all's role in getting that word messed up. So first, I'm gonna start with a question to the fellas. We've all heard us men say to women, "What does a woman have that makes her so valuable to me that I need to commit, marry her, or stay faithful?" For the single men, that has been kind of a consistent question. Mm-hmm. What is it you have? What are you bringing to the table as a woman to pull me off the market, to not be single anymore and to be with you?
Right. Why you?
Why you? What I ask the fellas is, in that sense, what does a man have that should make a woman agree or decide to submit to you?
Yeah, it's just that simple.
What do you possess that makes a woman submit to you? And that's just my question. I'm going to go into the list I have for the fellas and how y'all fuck this word up. I'm going to say we, because, I'm going to try to be inclusive. We.
Yeah, I guess I can go with it for now.
So the first thing that men have done over time is that the wrong men have used the term submit to control a woman without being submissive to her. For the wrong men, submit literally does mean control. That messed that word up for the rest of us.
They use it as a weapon.
Yeah, they do. And the other thing they use as a weapon is the just trust me, right? Like don't challenge my decisions. Like submit to the point where you just go with what I'm doing. Just trust me.
And on that note, men are just saying, just trust me. But women are like, trust what? What is it that I'm trusting? I have no clue what you're doing.
Exactly.
You haven't even broken anything down. You haven't done anything to... You telling me to just trust you. Trust what? And for women out there, you should definitely understand the difference between somebody saying, look, hey, this is what I think we should do. Mm-hmm. Somebody being detailed, somebody actually showing a plan and saying, hey, what do you think? I think this is the direction we need to go in.
Right.
If you trust me, I think we can do A, B, C, D, and E.
That's right.
That's somebody that's explaining the actual layout of the goal and how to get to the goal. Yeah. But you got these brothers out here, it's just like, Just trust me. Don't even worry. You haven't even given me any information or details about phases in which we supposed to be going in whatever direction we're going in. If we invest in money, if we relationship wise, whether it's, family, anything. You just saying, oh, just trust me.
Right. And I believe that most men who use that term don't have a plan. They don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it. And they can't explain it. So they just say, man, and then they get mad at her. Just trust me. Damn, you can't trust, just trust what I'm doing. See, what men like that need to understand is that it is not your woman's job to blindly follow you.
There you go.
No woman should blindly follow any man.
Right.
That's an insane thought. To you men out there with daughters, would you tell your daughter to just blindly follow her man? No.
Exactly.
But I think the guy that is inconsistent and the guy that's not dependable uses that term, just trust me. And how that works with submission is that kind of man thinking that submission means that you don't question his decisions and his choices, is what I'm getting at.
Right. And that's not what it is.
And that's not what it is, right?
Yeah.
Another way I think fellas have messed that word up is, how can I say this? Certain men like to court and deal with low self-esteem women. Like that's literally what they chase and attract, right? That's what they go for. They go for women who don't know their own value. They go for women who don't know their own strength. And the reason they go for those women is because a woman with low self-esteem does things as if she is a submissive woman, but her submission comes from her low self-esteem.
For trying to be accepted.
Right. It doesn't come from her actually choosing to be. She's not the strong, powerful woman who's choosing to be submissive to her man. She's just broken.
Yeah, insecure.
And in that insecurity, it looks like she's being submissive.
Right.
And there are certain men that look for women that are like that with no intent on helping her with her security. With no intent.
No intent in building her self-esteem up.
No intent at all. Yeah. His entire goal is to keep her right where she is because that insecurity looks like submissiveness. And people on the outside can kind of see that kind of relationship. You can see it.
Yeah, you can see it.
And the messed up part about that is what the dude don't know is that he broken too. He think he winning, but no, he broke too. Y'all both broke.
You're right. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think it's men and women that are responsible for that word being what it is. And it's not a bad thing to submit to your significant other. You just need to make sure you married to someone that you can submit to. That's the ball game. If you with someone you can't trust,
that's most of it.
Yeah, why are you married to someone you can't trust?
And I can put money on it that most women don't trust their man, even though they still get married. A woman will still get married, but not 100% trust their man.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
How are you married to someone you can't trust? This is a great man. Please, ladies.
That's a new topic.
Ladies, please chime in on this. How do you marry a man you can't trust? How do you marry a man you can't depend on?
Yeah, it's a little off topic, but I definitely think that that's a good topic to discuss because I think when it comes to that particular question, you talk about women chasing their own goals and within their own environment of people actually judging them, what their mother is going to think about them, what their father is going to think about them.
Yeah.
It's a status thing. People are marrying for status now. They're not marrying because they truly have unconditional love for one another and they truly trust one another. Right. People are getting married for status. So that would be my answer to why women do that. Because men do it too. I know quite a few people who don't trust their significant other, but they said I do. So why would you do that because you don't want to lose that person. somebody gives you an ultimatum, it's either 100 or 0. It's either all of it or nothing. But yeah, that's a good question. I would love to have a woman answer that. Why do women marry men that they don't trust?
And I would like that question for men too. Men, have you proposed to a woman that you don't trust? Why?
In my experience and in the people I know, I think for a man to get to that point where he wants to be married and he makes that decision to be married, I think he has already gotten over the trust thing. I think men will typically gradually say, okay, I trust this woman 100%. I know now I can spend the rest of my life with this woman. I think men naturally put that in the order. Most men. I think women is different. I don't think it's done that way.
Yeah.
I think it's I trust him, but not all the time. I trust him as far as I can see him.
Right.
As long as he abides by these requirements that I have, I trust him. But if I can't reach him for some apparent reason, I'm not going to just think he's doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think for men, and like I said, I may be wrong, but I think men have a tendency to get over that question before they get married.
Yeah, I definitely can see that because, and I know this is a little off topic, but I can see that because for men, I feel like we have a larger price to pay when marriages don't work out.
That's right.
In any sense, we have a larger price to pay of not having custody of our children. We have a larger price to pay if we are the breadwinners in the family and paying alimony and child support.
That's right.
It's a greater, and I'm gonna use the word loss. It's a greater loss for men financially when marriages don't work out.
Yeah.
Over history.
Yeah, but even financially and image wise, you're naturally going to be looked at as the bad guy. You're naturally going to be looked at as the person that did these things. So we say all that to say, those things come and run through your head before you say I do.
All right,
and you have to say, do I trust this woman enough? And, the reason why I'm even in this situation is because I trust this woman and, I love this woman. So in order for a man to get to that point, I just think that level of trust has to be very high or complete.
Yeah.
Because that's why you have guys that deal with women and they be dealing with them shacking up for 8, 9, 10 years.
They
never get married,
That's a whole nother topic right there.
Yeah.
Topic, man.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, be honest with yourselves. Can you submit to your significant other? And if you can't, have a conversation with yourself and find out why not. Why can't you? What's stopping you? What assumptions are you making? Exactly.
And then go and ask your significant other if you think you're submissive. And have that dialogue. Have that dialogue with what they think. A positive dialogue,
discussion.
Not an argument. Yeah. Ladies, go ask your man. Do you think I'm submissive? I guarantee you he don't answer it right away. I can promise you he don't answer it right away. He gonna think. He gonna say, this is what he gonna say. I'm gonna tell you, this is how powerful women are. When a woman asks that question, he's gonna think about, is this a trick question?
It's a setup.
Yeah. If I say she's not submissive, we about to go into a whole another thing about what I don't do. And if I say she is, then, and I really don't feel like she is, if I say she is, then I'm living a lie. I gotta deal with whatever it is now.
Yeah. I would say before you guys ask that question, find out what your partner's definition of submit is first.
Yeah,
because that's gonna start an argument. You ask your person, hey, do you think I'm a submissive? They say, no, you're not submissive because every time I want to do something, you always got something to say. You always got to like that. That's not what being submissive is about. It's not about not having an opinion.
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, you got to define. It's similar to how when we talked about defining cheating, you have to have the conversation of you guys deciding and figuring out what that word means to you and finding a common ground with it, and then putting it into action in your relationship. And really all it is selflessness, being selfless,
That's it.
looking out for each other, trusting each other, right? Again, having discussions instead of arguments.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times women don't allow certain things to transpire because they're so eager to see whether or not the man is selfless. So they can be very impatient when it comes to those type of things because they want a man to court them and do certain things and to help out around the house or do these type of things. But in order for you to truly understand what type of man you have to let him do that on his own. If you continuously ask, it's just like a chore. You're creating a chore. You're allowing him to complete a chore. When if you really want to know what type of man you have and if he can really truly be selfless, allow him to show you that he's selfless without you having to ask per se or say, you're not going to do this for me or you're not going to do, whatever.
Yeah.
If has some of those traits that you talked about, Dub, he should be willing to provide help and assistance on all levels, financially, mentally, socially, whatever. He should be willing to try to make her feel better on some level, depending on what it is she need help with.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, I know we said a lot. The last thing I'll say is, a lot of women love Beyonce. A lot of women love Beyonce. Beyonce is a figure of a strong Black woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
She own it. She's great at what she does. She has plenty of money, right? She seems to know how to treat people. You know what I'm saying? And she's married to Jay-Z, who is arguably one of the most successful rappers in the game. Plenty of money. Definitely seems to be a confident guy. Right? Seems like the kind of guy who probably can get any woman he wants. My question is, do you women believe that Beyonce is not submissive to Jay-Z in the house, in their relationship? Because when you have two billionaires, money's not an issue. So what do you have left to make a relationship work? Submissiveness. That's all you have.
That's all you got. Yeah.
Do you think he's not submissive to her? He is. That's the only way a relationship of two powerhouses will work, is if they're both like dramatically submissive to each other.
Yeah, having an enormous amount of respect for one another.
Just consider that.
Great point. Great point.
And again, I know y'all heard us say it many times. Hit us up. dubandtre@gmail.com. Follow us. IG @dubandtre. I think we got TikTok going, Twitter. Hit the website, www.dubandtre.com.
Do what we say. Submit to Dub and Tre.
I like that. And just to take care of some house cleaning, just to let you all know, we are coming to an end of season 1 on the Dub and Tre show. So after this episode, we will have maybe two or three more episodes before the end of season 1. And we got some new things coming for season 2. So we'll let you guys know when the last episode of season 1 is aired. And, look out for the start of season 2.
Some great things coming. So stay tuned. Right. Some great things.
Yeah, man, we out.